Welcome back, everyone. Very exciting episode today. We're going to be making a delicious 3-cheese pita done in a fry pan, nice and crispy, nice and gooey. And on the side, we're going to make a really delicious sort of green tahini dip with some snow peas that you can dip into. Yeah, tune in. Let's do it. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make our dough. For that, we'll need some extra fine Tipo 00 flour. If you can only get normal plain flour, that's pretty fine as well. Just some instant dried yeast, some lukewarm to warm water, just salt and sugar. We're going to do what people call bloom the yeast. Essentially, we're just going to put the yeast in some warm water, a bit of sugar, and it's going to start kickstarting the yeast. And to that, we're just going to add a good pinch of sugar. I'm just gonna give it just a good mix. And just a nice little glug of olive oil. So now we're gonna need about 300 grams of flour. Just like that. And just a bit of salt. And the reason why we don't put salt in there is that salt will sort of like stop the yeast from doing its thing. And that's why we let it kickstart here. Starting to foam around a little bit, we can add our yeast and flour mixture to our flour. Make sure you get everything. And we just start working it. Start off in the bowl. Just bring everything together. You will need to be a bit flexible. Might need a bit more water, a bit more flour. Very much depending on the humidity, climate, all that sort of stuff. Once you get to this point where everything's sort of come together reasonably well, we can just put it on our bench here and just work it. You don't have to go crazy. Everyone has a different way of kneading. I like to use just like the palm of my hand over here and just really get into it. Beautiful. At this point, cut in half, roughly. I mean, look, you can wait if you want and stuff like that, but you don't need to. And then we're just gonna give it a really nice sort of roll. And also I just like to rub a little bit of oil on them, just so it sort of stops them from drying out. Let it prove room temperature for about half an hour, and yeah, it'll be good to use. We're gonna make a green tahini dip. I know, pretty popular these days, tahini. It's essentially just like a sesame paste, and we're gonna blitz that up with like lots of delicious herbs and make a really good dip. We're gonna start off with just some herbs. Just like make sure you get the leafy parts of the parsley. This is quite strong garlic, so I'm probably only gonna use about like half a garlic clove. And a bit of lemon juice. And just a little bit of salt. And yeah, we're gonna start this process. Essentially, we just wanna like blitz the herbs and garlics up. So now we've got this like green chop situation. And we are now ready to add the rest of our ingredients. I'm gonna use about half a cup of raw tahini. This is hulled tahini, so none of that unhulled bullshit you get from your health food shop. About 125 grams. No, I've got the eye, but you can weigh it out. And an equal amount of water. Cool. Oh, it's actually exactly what we're looking for. I'm probably gonna add a little bit more tahini just because it is a little bit runny. I'm just gonna do that. So we can put that aside. We got tahini dip made, bread's proving. Now we're gonna make our filling for our pita. So the main cheese I'm using is this. It's like a smoked scamorza, essentially like a smoked mozzarella. And we got just some salty feta cheese and a bit of pecorino. You can sort of mess around with the ratios a bit. I predominantly like to use the scamorza, just because that's what adds like that, you know, stringy Instagram cheesy shit. Use about 50 grams of pecorino cheese, and I like to do this on a smaller grater. And I got about 50 grams of feta cheese as well. I'm gonna put that on the coarse grater. Make sure you get that nice sort of hard salty feta cheese. I'm not putting any salt in this mix because obviously the pecorino and the feta are quite salty. Let's pop everything into a bowl. All right, cool. So now that cheese is grated, we're just gonna flavor with a couple of things. I've just got a garlic clove, peel, and then just microplane in. And I've got some really nice dried oregano. I think it's worth buying this. That sort of powdered shit you get that's been sitting in the supermarket for like years and years isn't that good. So just make sure you pick the little leaves off and just crush it in your hands. Just like that. Alrighty, so we can set that aside. We're gonna get our pita on. We're just gonna roll them out about 1/2 centimeter thick. Honestly, most of this work can probably be done with your hands. You can just give it a little roll, don't have to put too much pressure on it. It's very easy for the edges to get really thick, so make sure we're just like rolling around. Cool. So now we have 2 nicely shaped round discs. This one we get a really good non-stick fry pan. It is really important that it's non-stick. We're not using any fat or any oil in here, and we're gonna start from cold. So we're gonna put this bottom guy on, and we're just like building this in the pan. It's just a lot easier and sort of gives us like a nice insurance policy. And this is our filling. And then this will go on top. If there's any sort of really big excess bits hanging off, you can just get a little knife and just sort of like cut it off. I just like to sort of push the 2 doughs together. All that cheese can stay inside. And I also like to do just like a little fold. That's what we're left with. And that's gonna go on the stove, just like a medium flame. It will probably be about 10 to 12 minutes on both sides. So now we're just gonna do a couple of things to go on top of our cheese pita. One thing I really like is like lots and lots of chopped spring onions. So let's take the ends off. You sort of want to chop it pretty fine. I know like not everyone's 100% confident with knife skills, but obviously it doesn't have to be perfect. Because of that, we can set them aside. And I was gonna make a really, I would say like almost chili oil, to be honest, to go on the cheese pita, you know, a bit of spice. And there's also honey in this as well. So about a teaspoon of honey, a teaspoon of like hot chili powder, and about a teaspoon of this sweet smoked paprika. You know, we've got the smoked cheese, smoked paprika, you know, all that sort of stuff. Top it up with a decent amount of olive oil. And we can just set that aside. So now we can finish off our snow peas and tahini situation. Put a couple of good handfuls in here, bit of olive oil, and just some salt. What I will do at this point is just like sort of check it. Plate on top. With confidence, conviction, flip it out. Oh, sneak peek, very nice. And we just slide it back into here and cook it on the other side. This is the cool part. You can literally hear the crunch and how dry it is. This is my scorching hot griddle pan. And we're just gonna get these beans on. And I just like to press these down just so you can get full contact. It's been about 2 minutes. You want to keep these like real crunchy. The second they sort of start cooking and wilting, you lose the benefit of the snow pea in this particular dish, so don't do that. Just want to make sure we get a little bit of grill marks on it. And this is how I like to serve it. Pop them inside the tahini. Sort of looks generous and kind of funky. I know this is ready. I'm gonna flip it over onto my plate. I really like to serve this on a board. Chuck it in here, everyone gets in. We'll get our lovely, lovely dressing. I'm talking like a lot of spring onions. Over here, we've got our 3 cheese pita, nice spicy chili dressing, lots of spring onions, delicious sort of char grilled snow peas, some grilled tahini. Hope you enjoy. That's not even fake, it's actually like actually good. For all recipes, you can jump on my Instagram, G_TAI, and you can access all sorts of fun things from both my professional and personal life.